Hello everyone! I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today I want to talk to y'all about this particular book that was summer reading during high school for me called Forgotten Fire. And forgive me if I butcher this name, Forgotten Fire by Adam Bagdasarian. So this particular book is a historical fiction piece, and it takes place during the early 1900s in Turkey. Now, this was when the Ottoman Empire was beginning to weaken and they were losing their territories and their overall country was becoming smaller. They were having a lot of intense political and land pressure from Europe. And so there was just a lot of upheaval that was going on during this time period. And unfortunately, this group of people that was living in Turkey at the time was made out to be the scapegoats of this larger, more complex problem, and they were victimized and attacked as a result. This particular group of people were Armenians. There was also the religious conflict of that Turkey was a Muslim nation and the Armenians were Christian. So these two characteristics of this particular group of people made them an easy target for pinning all of Turkey's problems on, in that the Armenians, for them, represented the European influence that was crumbling the Ottoman Empire, which is the old name of Turkey. It was previously referred to as the Ottoman Empire, and that was back when their territory was vast, y'all. And this is when it was slowly becoming closer to what Turkey is on our maps today. So they represented that, as well as the religious conflicts. That's no surprise there. The Christian and Muslim conflict has been going on for thousands of years, so they were just an easy target. This story follows this boy named, forgive me if I pronounce this wrong, Van, and his family. They are Armenians, and the story follows them as this conflict starts to escalate. So this very much mirrors what happened to the Jewish people in Germany and the surrounding European nations in World War II, in that they were targeted, they were made to have restrictions, they started being attacked in public places, things were being taken from them, just petty theft, all the way up to their homes being taken, all the way up to this escalated to then they were being rounded up and put into not necessarily camps, but just like abandoned war-torn buildings where they were just kind of held there, and they committed atrocities against them. They were tortured, they were killed, they were moved from place to place until they were fed up with dealing with them, and then they just killed them. And so Van had to watch as his family, his neighbors, his friends, and then of course just other Armenians that were lumped into this as they're tortured and killed, and that fear of, will he be next? Will someone else that he cares about will be next? What is going to happen? Will they be able to escape from this? And this was the first book that I read in high school where I saw that the atrocities that happened in Germany and larger Europe in World War II, that happened in other parts of the world during other time periods. I was not yet aware that this type of persecution and genocide necessarily happened in any other point in history than that space in World War II. Not to say that I disbelieved it or that I didn't think it was possible for that to happen. It was more so that I hadn't learned that particular piece of information yet, and it really opened my eyes to so much more of history and just understanding it from a holistic point of view and not just these small snapshots that were oftentimes presented with, whether in our lessons at school or in sanitized books or anything like that, that unfortunately history is riddled with these types of happenings over and over and over again. And it's just different time, different place, different people, but it keeps happening in a similar fashion. So that then when I got to the end of high school and I started learning about things like Rwanda, it wasn't as much of a surprise to me that, yes, here it is happening again, and it's happening in our lifetime, and it's terrible. And unfortunately, these types of things will likely continue to happen in various parts of the world in various time periods, because this is just human nature when unfortunately you let things spiral out of hand and let people go to their most basic, horrible parts of themselves. And a part of why I'm reviewing this book and a few other books that I've read that are kind of like this is that I feel that these kind of books are so important for us to read right now because of everything that's happening with the turbulence of everything that's happening with the government upheaval and all of the things that are happening in our communities and just things that are happening culturally and socially is frighteningly similar to this. And I feel that our best ways to arm ourselves against these type of happenings and to protect ourselves and the people we care about is to see the playbook of how it happened to others and what can we do to fight against it and to protect ourselves. As well as it's important to just have a better understanding of these points in time in history because they're ugly, they're dark, they're hard to read, which makes them all the more important to read. And this book is just trigger warnings galore, y'all. Just everything that you can think of that would be included in, a genocide such as this. Yeah, this is a hard book. I highly recommend making sure that if you choose to read this, that you read it in the right state of mind. Make sure you take breaks reading it so that you don't exhaust yourself emotionally. A lot of the stuff that's discussed in this book is really heavy and it's really difficult to process, as well as for me anyway, when I first read it, there were a lot of concepts that I was unfamiliar with because I just really didn't know a lot about Turkish history and Turkish culture and that particular time period. I also didn't know a lot about Armenian history and Armenian culture and all of that. So there were a lot of concepts that I had to kind of reread and also some stuff that I had to kind of do my own research on in order to better understand some of the things that were happening in the book, as well as some of the characters' motivations for why they cared about certain things and why they said and did certain things that they did. This is definitely a departure from anything that you've read about World War II because it takes place in such a different part of history, as well as it takes place in such a different part of the world, both location-wise and culturally. Make sure that you're also ready to learn those new concepts and just learn about those new cultural pieces of information. I highly recommend this book. I think it's a very important book, and I definitely think that we need to be reading more titles like this in order to have a better grasp on what's happening to us right here, right now. I hope you all found this video helpful. If you did, please be sure to give it a like, and if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.